Yeah, I tend to like doing these things in the car, man. It actually buys me a little time because I can't always be stationary when we talk about these Auburn Tigers. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. It's always great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. Okay, so I did a video on Peyton Thorne yesterday. So we got a lot of mixed emotions. Some people are talking about, look, he ain't the guy. Some people are like, okay, it's the receivers. Some people say, well, he's got a new offensive line. And then others are like, you know what? Auburn, matter of fact, Morgan Bryce was like, you know what? Auburn will probably be, a little bit above 500 for the next few years, especially considering the competition of the Southeastern Conference. And in a few more years, Auburn actually might be looking for another coach. Go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. Down in Deep South, college football is king. And on the plains of Auburn, battle cries War Eagle. My stage name is Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn, like I said before. But look, let's go ahead and let's get into it. So, Auburn's got a few games at the early part of the season that could breed some confidence. Now, here is the thing about Auburn fans that you got to know. With the way this schedule is set up, it's set up to where it might put Auburn fans in a position to where they might be overly optimistic going into the stretch, okay? Especially with the opportunity to be the team with the name of Oklahoma at home, okay? So, Auburn has a little situation where they have Alabama A&M, a FCS conference football team. Probably not going to be any real problems there. The Cal game is going to be kind of a litmus test for me because I thought Auburn should have had a more dominant performance against Cal, but, just kind of got out there and fooled around. Both teams played about as sloppy as either of them could have dreamed of playing. California wound up playing a little bit more sloppier and gave up a turnover, gave up a crucial sack, gave up a pass to, Rivaldo Fairweather there at the end, a 3rd and 17, and, you hit your tight end for 17 yards. I mean, how sloppy can that be? As a matter of fact, the bad part about it wasn't a back shoulder throw. It was like he was falling down. Looked like he was halfway well covered in that play, and Auburn wins that game, 14-10. I thought a pretty grimy win on the road. And, Auburn also has New Mexico, not New Mexico State. This is not a rematch from last year for the Tigers against New Mexico State. This is New Mexico, okay? And then you got Oklahoma that comes into town. Let me make sure I'm not forgetting anybody because I'm actually driving right now. So you got Alabama A&M, you got Cal. Yep, we got everybody, okay? Now you got the big game against Oklahoma at home. The first game for Auburn against Oklahoma as an SEC team. Auburn actually had the opportunity to face Oklahoma back in the 2016 season where Cameron Petway was running back at the time. And it was during a little stretch where Auburn had some pretty good things going on, 2016 season, where Auburn pushed the envelope to possibly become one of the first college football teams that had 2 losses to make the college football playoff. But they blew that by losing to Georgia. And then subsequently, Cameron Petway had the injury against Vanderbilt that kind of, took away his production. And then Auburn just kind of downslid like they always do. When they lose that crucial game, it's just all downhill from there. Oklahoma pretty much pounded them in that Sugar Bowl. I think Oklahoma beat Auburn 35-19. Then Auburn goes to the 2017 season. Somewhat of a quarterback battle between Jarrett Stidham and Sean White. Of course, Jarrett Stidham coming from Baylor, he wins that job. As a matter of fact, fast forward, this has nothing to do with the current state of Auburn. Jarrett Stidham and Bo Nix, ironically, are actually, duking it out up at Denver for the starting quarterback job. Who would Who would have thunk of that? But either way, I think this schedule is set up, and I see this all the time with Auburn. The schedule is set up in a fashion to where it's going to build. I just don't want this to be a situation where the schedule just basically builds Auburn fans up just to let them down. You're 5-0 going into the Georgia game. Everybody's thinking, oh man, Auburn has a chance. All the recruiting that Hugh Freeze has executed this thing is paying off already. The transfer portal is actually coming to fruition to where this thing is going to work out. Next thing you know, I hope this doesn't happen, but I'm just saying it's just the usual setup. Auburn loses to Georgia. Auburn fools around and loses to Missouri, right? And messes around and loses to Kentucky. And now we're back at depression mode again. Okay, I'm really hoping that doesn't happen. But I've been around this thing for too long. I've been around this thing. Now, here's a couple of possible reasons why it might not happen. Is because, one, I think Auburn has the opportunity, unlike the past, where you got some wide receivers possibly that can make those game-changing plays. Because before, it's 3rd down and 8, Auburn ain't getting it. They can't run it, they can't pass it. 3rd and 8, not happening. 3rd and 5, it may or may not happen. 3rd and 3, okay, you might have a shot. But if Auburn gets behind the sticks for the most part, especially with the personnel that they've had in the past, nope, it's not happening. Okay? Now, I think Auburn has to do an excellent job of controlling the down and distance, especially in these big games like your Missouris and Georgias and even Oklahoma. Oklahoma's going to have a freshman quarterback, and I think Auburn needs to take full advantage of that. And I think DJ Durkin will. I think he might have this game circled on his calendar as how he's going to execute his game plan to really stalemate that Oklahoma offense with a freshman quarterback, coming into the SEC first-time home game. Now, I'm not sure. I don't know what the other games are going to be looking like that weekend. I would assume that if everything plays out right, I think Auburn will be undefeated coming into that game. There's a good chance that Oklahoma may be coming into that game undefeated and might even have a loss. Who knows? But either way, I think it's going to be a game that's going to be played around 4:30, maybe at the latest 7 o'clock. ESPN might just because Auburn has a flair of dramatics, and ESPN really likes Auburn for some reason. They like having Auburn on their channel, their network, and it could be a ABC. You just never know. But either way, especially if it's a primetime game, I think it's going to be a little bit troublesome for Oklahoma and their freshman quarterback. And I think that will give Auburn a chance to have a quality win against, Oklahoma's I'd say at least a baby blue blood in college football. I'd say a blue blood in college football. When you think of college football, you think of teams like Oklahoma, Ohio State, Alabama, Michigan. Now you think about Georgia to a certain degree. You think about Clemson. So I think if you get a good win against a solid blue blood team in college football, I think that'll be a nice, confidence boost for the Auburn Tigers going down the stretch, and hopefully that will lead to some real action to where Auburn can put themselves in a position to make some noise down the stretch. Now, here's another thing that the transfer portal has done to help Auburn with this possible stretch between Oklahoma, Missouri, all those teams that they got to play. One thing you got to have is some depth. I think last year Auburn did have some depth issues that a lot of folks don't want to account for, and largely at the line of scrimmage. Had a defensive lineman that was injured, kept rotating guys along the offensive line, trying to figure out who's going to be the best fit. And I think considering all things involved, Auburn has, acquired Trill Carter and a couple of other guys along that defensive line that provides, if nothing else, that depth. Isaiah Rakes is a big guy, and to have that big body just leaning on you and falling on you, and with his durability, I think that gives Auburn a little bit more leverage to where they can not only rotate guys in and out, because, I mean, looking at the schedule, very light heavy at the top schedule-wise for Auburn, in my opinion, based on what they're going to face down the stretch. I think there's got to be a lot of rotation going on. There's got to be a lot of experience building going on in those rotations, to where you got the experience, you got the depth, you got the stamina, and the opportunity to combat that with what they're going to face, with these monstrous offensive linemen with Missouri, Kentucky, Georgia. So I think that's going to be a huge deal for them. So, all right, so as we wrap this thing up, I want you guys to look at the first 5 games of the schedule, look at what Auburn has down the stretch, and just remember, Auburn you don't want to get your hopes up too high, but you also don't want to be one of those Debbie Downers either. But just know, Auburn may go 5-0, and then things get real tricky after that. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and the insight of Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. My name is Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. We are talking Auburn football in the Deep South. College football is king. And on the plains of Auburn, the battle cry is War Damn Eagle.